At the height of Louis's business, the Franco-Prussian War erupted. Louis and his family were forced to leave their home and workshop in Asnières outside Paris and head to the city. There, they lived in a cramped shelter amongst thousands of refugees. Food became so scarce that the Vuittons nearly starved to death. When the war ended, Louis returned home. He was devastated to find his materials stolen and his workshop destroyed. Using the remainder of his savings, Louis wasted no time in rebuilding his workshop and finding a new shop location. Fortunately for him, property prices dropped because of the war. Louis took advantage of the opportunity and purchased a shop in an upscale district. Within months of reopening, business was thriving again, and orders came in from all over the world. Louis now felt the need to try new and bolder ideas. At the time, technology was advanced enough to print custom patterns on fabric, and since canvas is a fabric, Louis was able to create a line of trunks covered in a striped pattern. The new design took off immediately. It also made it more difficult for counterfeiters to copy Louis's work. Afterwards, Louis received so many international orders that he opened a shop in London. The expansion led to diversifying his clientele, which included more royals and explorers. Eventually, Louis decided to release his first catalog to make ordering easy. It was a practical move that was bound to bring the business to new heights. But within that same year, an unexpected tragedy stomped on Louis's efforts. Louis suddenly passed away in his home at the age of 72. The cause of his death remains unknown. It was now up to Georges to take on his father's unfinished plans. Georges wasted no time in growing the business and traveled to the US to attend the World Fair. And fortunately for him, he met someone at the fair who could help, John Wanamaker. John pioneered the concept of the department store and invented the price tag. After meeting Georges, he started selling LV in his New York department store. It was then that Georges created a monogram in memory of his father, a floral pattern with an interlocking L and V. Customers were shocked to see the monogram on products. But eventually, times changed and the new design took off. Georges and his son Gaston continued to follow Louis's footsteps and created new designs. Noteworthy creations include a bag for everyday use, the Kipal, a bag to carry wine and champagne, the Noe, and a redesign of a Coco Chanel commission, the Alma. By then, Georges had toured all over the US and built a distribution network. But unfortunately, history repeated itself. He passed away, leaving Gaston to complete Louis's unfinished plans alone. Gaston was off to an unlucky start. The Second World War erupted and contracts were cancelled. Gaston had no choice but to shut down LV's factory and stores. In Louis Vuitton, a French saga, the author claims that Gaston became so desperate to survive that he collaborated with the ruling party for Germany. The author also claims that while shops like Van Cleef and Arpels were shut down, LV was the only one allowed to stay open. After the war ended, Gaston tasked his sons Henri, Jacques, and Claude with rebuilding the company. With their father's guidance, the sons ensured new models of luggage were made each year. But after Gaston's passing, business stagnated. Hard-sided luggage became less popular. So they asked their sister's husband, Henri Racamier, to take over. He had a keen business acumen and pivoted LV from wholesale to retail and tapped into the Asian market. Within 6 years, LV sales soared from $20 million to over $260 million. It was around then that Henri took LV public. The company's stock sold out after more than 1 million shares were sold. Henri forged ahead with opening stores all over the world. LV reached nearly $1 billion in sales and merged with Moet Hennessy, a champagne and cognac producer, to form a luxury goods conglomerate, LVMH. While the merger allowed LV to expand its investments, Henri found himself embroiled in management disputes with Moet Hennessy's president, Alain Chevalier. In hopes of gaining control, Henri asked the property developer Bernard Arnault to be his ally, who agreed, but soon after, Henri realized that Bernard had his own ambitions. Bernard secretly bought a controlling interest in LVMH for himself and gained support from the Moet and Hennessy families. Afterwards, a legal battle between Henry and Bernard ensued. The courts favored Bernard and forced Henry to step down. From then on, LV fell behind when compared to other luxury brands. It wasn't until LV followed Louis' footstep under the leadership of Yves Carcel and came up with a new and bold idea that things changed. The company invited designers such as Vivienne Westwood, Isaac Mizrahi, and Manolo Blahnik to create handbags using its monogram for its 100th anniversary. 1 year later, LV hired a designer named Marc Jacobs to be their creative director. Marc revitalized the brand by launching its first ready-to-wear line, designing its popular Vernis collection and collaborating with high-profile artists. Since then, LV has expanded into watches, jewelry, and sunglasses and continues to launch iconic bags. Today, LV ranks as the #1 luxury brand in the world, and its valuation has topped $30 billion. This is the story of how a homeless teenager pioneered modern luggage and laid the foundation for a billion-dollar empire. For more inspiring stories and advice from today's most successful leaders, don't forget to subscribe to our channel.